Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video on the channel. I went back and rewatched the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and today we're going to be going over the rest of the things I noticed. One of the points in this video I actually noticed due to a different YouTube video and thought it was a very valid point, so I'm going to be covering it. I'm also going to quote from the video because I thought the other YouTuber phrased it perfectly, and I didn't really think I could say it any better than that. So when I quote the other YouTube video, I will put the link on screen and in the video description below. This video contains spoilers for the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. If you have not watched the show, please turn off this video and come back after you've watched it. I will only be going over the dub of the show, so if you're a sub-only viewer, you might be a bit confused. Thank you for understanding. This video is a continuation and conclusion of the list I started last time, and we'll be going over the 4th and 5th seasons, as well as the Capsule Monsters arc. So without further ado, let's dive into the rest of the things I noticed from the original series. Despite what you think, Darts, you are not one of the Egyptian gods. 2. During the train scenes, Taya is safe on the other part of the train with Tristan and Joey, so why would she risk her life to jump over to the part of train with Yami in it? And why would Yami want her with him? Besides plot, of course. Yet this keeps happening. I'm starting to think this is a running theme for most of the Yu-Gi-Oh shows. Aside from Vrains onward. Number 3. This is relevant for most of season 4. The gang knows that Yugi's been captured, so why do they keep calling the pharaoh Yugi? Force of habit, maybe? It's fine otherwise because Yugi's soul is still there, so whoever's calling him Yugi is talking to both of them. Unless it's in the Pharaoh's Memories arc, but that's just Kaiba that does that during that arc, and that's just because he's Kaiba. Number 4. Season 4, Weevil vs. Yami. Who decided it was a good idea to duel on top of a moving train? Seems like a bad idea to me. 5. Season 4, Episode 18. The train just fell off a cliff with Yami, Taya, and Weevil was still Solar Blade Orichalcos on it. Why do we hear Taya and Yami talking after the train crashes? This indicates that they're both conscious and aware of what's going on. However, when they wake up in the next episode, they seem to have no recollection of anything after the train fell off the cliff. I guess because Darts just said, no, I need them alive, the dub decided to add these couple lines to make sure that the possibility of them being dead wasn't even the thing in the first place, since we hear him talking. I mean, the dub's policy is basically, no, the viewers can't see or hear about death. These are the people that invented the Shadow Realm and the Netherworld just to make it so the characters are trapped in other dimensions instead of them dying. So I guess it makes sense. Although if they were really worried about this, yeah, I think this is a lot more complicated than just the far simpler route which just would have been changing what Dart says instead of doing this. Like, you don't want to introduce the possibility of them being dead. Okay, just change what Dart says. That really takes a long way around sometimes. Also, I still fail to understand how Weevil disappeared because when Yami and Taya wake up, Weevil is nowhere to be found, despite the fact that his soul has been stolen by the Orichalcos. So, what? Ironheart says that Yami seems to possess a wisdom far beyond his years. So, how do you know how old he is? He's over 5,000 years old, dude. I mean, you're like over twice his age, but still. Number 7. The Valen vs. Rebecca and Duke duel just ended. Okay, 2 questions. A, how did Valen negate Rebecca's Mirror Force? And B, how did Valen not lose the duel? That effect really wasn't explained hardly at all. Number 8. Kyra vs. Alistair, round 2. So, why did Alistair decide it was a good idea to duel on top of a moving airplane? Yeah, I'm starting to notice a little bit of a theme here. People that use the Orichalcos deciding to duel on top of large moving vehicles, not a good idea. Number 9. How did Kaiba beat Alistair in that duel? He summoned Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon and somehow destroyed all 3 of Alistair's monsters, which were all in defense mode, I believe. and also took out his life points with one attack. This was not explained. And after he lost to Kaiba, Alistar blew out every single window in the plane. How did they A, not pass out, and B, not get cut on all the broken glass? 11. At one point during the Valen versus Joey duel, this happens. Valen plays his armor gravitation card, and when Joey asks for an explanation, all he says is, "My trap buster armor should clear things up." Firstly, that card isn't a trap, it's a monster. I think. I'm honestly quite confused. And second, that's not an explanation. Then, when Joey says, "Nope, still lost," Valen goes, "You're even dumber than I thought you were. You didn't even explain the card, dude. He's never seen it before, so how's he supposed to know what it does if you don't explain it? That doesn't make Joey dumb." Although, yeah, another theme I've noticed, people insulting Joey. Like, give the guy some credit. Oh, speaking of Joey, Rocket Warrior's invincible mode still isn't a thing, despite the fact that Joey continues to use it. Number 13. During the final duel with Raphael, Yami uses a combo to take down Guardian Dreadside, which makes it so Guardian Yatos can attack again every time Raphael's monster revives itself. At the end of the battle phase, both of the monsters end up being destroyed after Yami eliminates all the cards in Raphael's hand, so Dreadside couldn't come back. But there's kind of a problem with that. Both monsters have the same attack point, so wouldn't Yatos have been destroyed with the first attack? After making this list, I found out that one of the cards that Yami used actually has an effect that makes it so Yatos wouldn't be destroyed, but that wasn't explained in the show. And then also, why was she destroyed at the end? Yeah, that really doesn't make sense. Number 14. Okay, so the season 4 Duel with Darts is way too stacked. To give you an idea of how ridiculously overpowered it is, here's the first 5 turns. Kaiba, Paladin of White Dragon into Blue Eyes. Yami, Lackluster Soldier. Darts. The Seal of Orichalcos, Orichalcos Cutora in the back row, the thing that makes it so Darts can't take a single point of damage, then summons Orichalcos Shinros when it's destroyed, and Orichalcos Gygus in the first row, which arrives with 500 additional attack every single time it's destroyed, and the only drawback is that Darts can't draw a card next turn. Kaiba, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Yami, Master Dragon Soldier, which has 5,000 attack. Yeah, that's the first 5 turns. Are you starting to get what I'm talking about? Oh, and we're not done. Did I mention that Darts also plays the second and third layers of the Seal of Orichalcos later in the duel, as well as Orichalcos Shinros and his Divine Serpent? Yeah, this duel is way over the top. It's the closest that DM gets, and actually I think it's the closest that any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Show gets, to the ridiculous Dawn Thousand versus Yuma Nash and Astral duel at the end of Zexal. This duel is absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of things that happened in the Darts duel, when the Vision of Atlantis gets generated by the Orichalcos in Season 4, Episode 33, Darts says they never left the room. However, in the next episode, we see them appear back in the room in a flash of light, and Taya says, "They're back!" What? And, besides plot, why would Yami put the blank card that Pegasus gave him in his deck when he doesn't even know what it does? And how does he figure out the card's effect if he needed Pegasus to tell him that the card works with the legendary dragons? Oh, by the way, it's written on the card! I know characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't read their opponent's effects, but they should at least know what their own cards do. Especially since, it's written on the card. Number 17. In the last season, Yami Bakura says that Tem can only control the Egyptian god monsters because of his knowledge of the future. But in the vision shown to us in Season 4, Pasta Tem also summoned the Egyptian gods. So that's false, Yami Bakura. In Season 4, Atlantis rising up from the sea triggers a giant hurricane that is, and I quote, over 6,000 miles in diameter. The problem is that the diameter of the Earth is only a little under 8,000 miles. The storm is just over one ocean, and they're only worried about the East Coast? Yeah, I don't think so. Number 19. How did Weevil get to the hospital? He just appears there at the end of season 4. Last we heard of him, he had lost his soul to the Orichalcos, then mysteriously disappeared from the train when he crashed. What? Number 20. In the duel against Opnarg, and I'm definitely pronouncing that name wrong, it's Grandpa backwards in case you couldn't tell, Joey plays Premature Burial, then activates Giant Tornade, which sends all magic and trap cards on the field back to their owner's hands. He then activates Premature Burial again. Yet, I don't think you're allowed to do that, Joey. Premature Burial is a continuous spell, so it goes to the graveyard after it's activated, not stays in the field. Hi, future me here. After making this list, I realized that Premature Burial equips onto the monster it revives, so this is actually a good move on Joey's part. Number 21. Rex and Weevil versus Siegfried. Rex plays what he says is Black Tyranno, but A, I don't remember having that card in his deck, and B, the monster he summons looks nothing like Black Tyranno. Number 22. Even with Mischief of the Time Goddess skipping Kaiba's turn, all of Siegfried's Valkyries should have still returned to his hand. Number 23. During the flashback of young Grandpa Moto exploring the Pharaoh's tomb, one of the guides falls into the Pit of Shadows, and the other guide tells Grandpa Moto that he will pay for that. Why is the guide blaming Grandpa Moto? He told them what they had to do to cross the maze safely. It's not his fault that the guide didn't do what he said. He told them what they had to do, and the guy didn't listen, so he fell into the Pit of Shadows. Really not his fault. Number 24. Mahad and Yami-Bakura are battling in the Magician's training ground in ancient Egypt. How was Diabound able to cause repeated pillars of electricity to shoot up from the ground outside of the cave? Number 25. Where did Yami learn to use a sword and battling with the sword while riding a horse? He most likely did learn that stuff when he was a prince, but he has no memory of those times at this point. Is that like muscle memory or something? Number 26. When the training grounds collapsed after his battle with Mahad, how did Yami-Bakura end up in a random river? Number 27. When Zork appears at the end of the season, the 7 Millennium items are scattered throughout the desert. But when it shows the items scattering, it only shows 6 of the 7. It shows the Millennium Puzzle, Key, and Eye, then switches over to another frame and shows the Millennium Scale, Necklace, and Rod. Time for y'all to guess, which one's missing? Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. Time's up! The Millennium Ring is nowhere to be seen. Honestly, if one of them was going to be missing, the Millennium Ring is probably the most likely one. Because, Millennium Ring used to hold Yami-Bakura's spirit, Yami-Bakura is Zork. If one of them was going to end up missing at that point, or rather not be shown to us at that point, Millennium Ring, most likely candidate. So this kind of makes sense. Number 28. Is Obelisk the Tormentor's attack called Fist of Fate or Fist of Fury? Number 29. Zork says that Yami is cowering at his feet. You knocked him unconscious, dude. How is that cowering? If somebody is physically unable to stand up, that is not them cowering. Villains. Number 30. When Seto summons Blue Eyes, Kaiba says that things are finally starting to get interesting. Was it not already interesting when Zork defeated the Egyptian gods and Exodia? Really, Kaiba? Of course, it's Kaiba, so yeah. Number 31. Kaiba calls Zork a sideshow freak and an ancient overgrown windbag. Wow. Honestly, not surprising, because it's Kaiba. But wow, dude. You got guts. Insulting Zork. I can think of a lot of things to call Zork. But wow, Kaiba. Number 32. Season 5, Episode 34. Yami jumps off a building, somehow glides over to Kaiba instead of dropping like a stone, yells, Kaiba, I know you know what to do! Merges with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon to make Master Dragon Soldier. So, A, how did Kaiba understand anything from that? It's not like they made a battle plan ahead of time. They didn't, right? They didn't do something like that off screen? I'm pretty sure they didn't. And B, how did Yami turn into Blackluster Soldier? I understand how they fuse because Yami has the power of monster fusion thanks to Millennium Scale, but still, how did Kaiba understand anything from that? Number 33. Season 5, Episode 35. Atem hands the Millennium Puzzle to Seto, tells him that he's now the Pharaoh, then fades so only Yugi and the others can see him. So, how is Seto going to explain this to everyone else? I don't think he can just call an emergency meeting and say, so the Pharaoh just handed me the Millennium Puzzle, declared me the new Pharaoh, and then faded into nothing right before my eyes, and have everyone accept it. There's no way, right? So how's he going to explain this? I really wish they'd just shown that to us. Like, I literally can't imagine how he would accept that. How everyone would accept that, how he would explain it. I literally have no idea how he would even do that. I really wish they'd just shown that. Number 34. Pegasus just called Serenity an annoying, mousy little girl. That's kind of rude, don't you think? Number 35. Why does everyone keep saying that Yugi and Atem share a mind? They share a body, not a mind. What is with you people? Even Yugi says they share a mind. They don't. Number 36. During the final duel of the show, Yugi activates Grand Erosion to weaken Obelisk and negate its effects. When Atem objects with, traps don't work on Obelisk, Yugi declares, I'm not working on him, I'm using it on the field under him. Now, you might think this is shenanigans, but this is actually completely fair. The ground erosion card says to target a monster zone, not a monster. Number 37. Atem versus Yugi. When Atem summons the winged dragon of Ra, he says the chant. However, only part of the chant is the same as the chant from Battle City. For contrast, here are the chants. Battle City. Great beast of the sky, please hear my cry. Transform myself from orb of light and bring me victory in this fight. Envelop the desert with your glow and cast my rage upon my foe. Unlock your powers from deep within so that together we may win. Appear in the shadow game as I call your name. Winged Dragon of Ra! Versus the Atem versus Yugi chant that Atem says. Almighty protector of the sun and sky, I beg of thee, please heed my cry. Transform thyself from orb of light and bring me victory in this fight. I beseech thee, grace our humble game, but first I shall call out your name. Winged Dragon of Ra! You see, the only lines that are the same is transform myself from orb of light and bring me victory in this fight, and calling the Winged Dragon of Ra's name at the end. Other than that, it's completely different. Number 38. In the same episode, Atem summons Slifer using a magic card, then ends his turn in the next episode. However, Slifer doesn't go to the graveyard at the end of the turn, even though it was special summoned. To explain this, I'm going to borrow the words of one of the TGS Anime YouTube videos. Remember Summoning Clock, the card that special summons Slifer? Well, in its effect, it specifically states that there is no need to tribute for monsters summoned by its effect. So here we go. Perhaps the reason God cards go to the graveyard is not because they were specifically special summoned, but because they were summoned without any sacrifices. Remember, they are gods, so it makes sense that they require blood sacrifices to enter the mortal realm. If you don't feed them the blood sacrifice, they're either going to get angry or they're just going to leave. So with that in mind, since this card states the monster summoning needs no sacrifice, it would be safe to say that this card is acting as a kind of synthetic sacrifice in the place of actual monsters. This is why Slifer didn't go to the grave. Its blood sacrifice cost had been paid synthetically. It didn't know the difference. Y'all understand now? And by the way, since I quoted from the YouTube video, as I said before, I will put the video link down in the description. Number 39. Ishizu seems to have the memories of Isis. This is revealed when Mahad, aka the Dark Magician, shows up and starts talking to Atem during the final duel, which triggers the memories. Something that would have been cool to see is if right after these memories are triggered, Ishizu says, Mahad, out loud. Everyone would have been like, what? And Atem would have been like, wait, how does she know about this? Mahad would have thought that she was Isis, since obviously he doesn't know who Ishizu is, and he would have started talking to her as if she was Isis. That would have been so cool to see. Number 40. Did Taya just try to run into the afterlife after Atem? Girl, I know you don't want him to leave, but really? Number 41. Season 5, Episode 40. The sanctuary is collapsing, and the Millennium items are lost. But guess what? It looks like Shadi's still guarding the Millennium items. Wow, you really have devotion to your job, dude. Number 42. If you count the Capsule Monsters arc, they have to face Five-Headed Dragon 3 separate times. To be fair, the first 2 times were the 2 times they faced the Big Five, but still. And Jaden has to face it in GX, too. Well, Jude-kun. Really. Jaden doesn't. Jude-kun does. If you don't know, those are both the same character. Jude-kun is his name in the sub. And I'm saying Jaden doesn't, and Jude-kun does, because the only time he has to face it is in Season 4, which was, in case you didn't know, never dubbed. So really, Jaden doesn't have to face a thing. Jude-kun is the one that has to face Five-Headed Dragon. But anyway, number 43. Why does a monster named Dark Witch have all light attacks, and why is it light attribute? Number 44. Capsule Monsters Trial number 5. Did Yami just use one of the heads of Five-Headed Dragon to flip it over and slam it against the ground? How heavy is that thing? Probably like 2,000 plus pounds? Dude, wow! Number 45. Capsule Monster Trial 5. Kaiba and Seto would be very happy to know that an entire village has been worshipping Blue Eyes for years. Then Yami merges with Blue Eyes, which probably would have made Seto very happy, since his pharaoh just merged with a monster that represents his kind of dead girlfriend, and made Kaiba very mad because he's Kaiba, and Yami was the one who just merged with Blue Eyes. Well, that wraps up the rest of the things I noticed from the original series. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video, as well as checking out the video I quoted from. The link is in the description below. Have a nice day, everyone, and I'll see you next time for another Yu-Gi-Oh video.